Razabani for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Matt, this seems so nice doing this with you face to face rather than your castle.
Yeah, man. Listen, Zoom served its purpose and we were grateful for it at the time. Well, it's good to be back in person, isn't it, man?
It is, 100%. Matt, Saturday night, Sky Sports Boxing, great show, top of the bill. Richard Riakpo trying to make ways in that cruiserweight division. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, you know, just talking to him there, I think he's growing into the, not just, you know, yeah, in the gym and the fighter and moving through, but even growing into the talking to the media, doing interviews. I think his confidence is coming now, you know. I think early on when he boxed, was it Sam Hyde and that, he was thinking, do I belong here, I think I do, but I'm not sure where. I think now he's getting that self-belief and confidence. You know, you look at those 3 wins he had against Jack Massey, Tommy McCarthy, Chris Billum-Smith, like those wins have aged well. If you look at what Billum-Smith and McCarthy have done since then, you know, that actually those wins have got better with time. I think, you know, he had the inactivity, he was out for a while, he came back in October, he got 8 rounds, which was needed, I think. But I'm expecting a different performance tomorrow night, and I think the fact that Dorado is so experienced and can bang himself, I think he's probably going to stick it on Riakpo. I think we could see a shootout. This could be fireworks early doors, I reckon.
We know Richard's had a bit of time away from the ring due to personal issues and other political issues that he's had going on, but we know Lawrence Okoli is a WBO champion. Lawrence really wants to unify and move up, but how far away is Richard from someone like Lawrence?
I mean, I think he maybe not that far. You know, if you look at the cruiserweight division and who he's already beaten and where he is and ranked and everything, I think the difficult thing might be, you know, all going well on Saturday night is kind of who do you match him with? Because people who are sort of up there, which the fights he needs to take him there. A similar situation to Buatsi a little bit, because you're thinking guys up there thinking, well, I don't really want to fight him. You know, he carries serious power. You know, what have I got to gain? You know, so he may have to force it. He may have to force his way into a mandatory position to get a world title shot. You know, he can't worry too much about it. He's got to leave that to his manager and promoter, and he's just got to focus on beating the guys in front of him. But I think that's what you could see. That could be the probably biggest hurdle to his progress and development at getting a world title shot. Is guys not really wanting to fight him.
Any other fights you're looking forward to on the card?
Yeah, Jose Burton, Dan Aziz in particular, because, you know, British title fights always, you know, have given us some of the best action fights over the years, and you've got Dan Aziz, who's very much sort of stepping up. You know, he's got a couple of solid wins at a level against Sterling and Ricky Summers, but, you know, Jose is certainly a lot more proven than that. And, you know, even though he had that loss out in Latvia against Bolotniks, the only other loss in his career was to Buglioni in a fight he was winning. So, you know, and Bolotniks was a good fighter. You know, we've seen him, you know, he gave Buatsi a tussle for a while there. So I think, you know, for me, Burton is a pretty strong favourite, but don't write off Dan Aziz. It's going to be a good fight.
Matt, away from the show, I just want to touch on some topics that are floating around boxing at the moment. Let's touch on the heavyweight division. We were expecting, well, Eddie Hearn was quite vocal that there was going to be some sort of announcement of the WBC which will allow Dillian Whyte to become the official mandatory for Tyson Fury. We didn't hear the announcement. The WBC said there's an arbitration going on at the moment, and until that's concluded, we're not making any announcement. Is it getting a little bit messy now?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the arbitration is against the WBC, isn't it? So they're probably thinking, you know, drop that and we'll put you up there. I'm guessing that's their sort of mentality on it. But listen, I seen an interview yesterday, or a quote that Bob Arum said that, listen, we might just do that on a voluntary because it makes a lot of sense. We can do it in Cardiff, you know, and in March or April they were talking about. So, look, if there's any fighter in the world that's Jewish shot, it's Dillian Whyte, man. He's been there for so long. He should have had his shot by now. I really hope he gets it. It's a tough fight, isn't it? Let's be honest. Fury's, you know, has established himself universally as the man in the division now, number one. So it's a tough fight. But listen, Dillian's Jewish shot now. He's earned it, and I hope he gets it.
When he pulled out the Otto Waller fight, there's a lot of people speculating that he pulled out that fight because he was going to be announced as the mandatory. He didn't want to take the risk. But obviously he's come out and said, look, I have a genuine reason for pulling out of this fight. Can you understand that?
Look, I don't know what's gone on. How do I know? I'm just like everyone else looking, you know, in and a little bit of insight. I hear things here and there, but you would have to say it looked like he pulled out of that fight because he thought, the announcement of being mandatory and the fight with Fury was imminent. That's how everyone, I think, looked into it, probably including Wallen. So, look, that was a really good fight, by the way. You know, if the mandatory situation didn't look like it was definitely coming, you know, that was a good fight. But and Dillian's always stayed active in tough fights. You know, there were times when he was in positions where you thought, all right, maybe just sit on it a bit now, but he didn't. He just kept rolling the dice, and I think in doing that, it's helped improve him as a fighter as well. So, look, you know, it's a shame the Wallen fight didn't happen. It was a good fight, but like I say, whether it's mandated, whether the arbitration thing is dropped or not, whatever happens there, even if they do a voluntary against Dillian, I hope he gets the fight because, you know, he's earned it.
Matt, sticking with the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua, a lot of rumours circulating about himself moving and potentially looking for other trainers. You're a fighter, well, you're an ex-fighter, not a fighter anymore. You've moved trainers in your career because you felt like that was the right decision for yourself. Is he right to make that move based on his last fight and the backlash he got based on his tactics?
Look, it's difficult to teach an old dog new tricks. That said, a change can be as good as the rest sometimes, and it just freshens things up and just maybe gives you that bit more motivation, maybe a bit more excited about things because it's new and it's fresh. Then maybe after the first fight or two, that levels off. Look, he's been with McCracken from his amateur days. He knows him. He knows what he's good at. He knows what he's not good at. He'll know when he's up for it, when he's not. He'll be able to read him. He'll know him inside out, upside down. That's an asset to have a guy in your corner that really knows you. Personally, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I just think he should stick with Rob McCracken, but get rid of all the other voices. I thought it was a bit crowded in that corner. And when a fight's, if it's crowded in the corner, it's probably crowded in the gym. So then is that connection is fragmented. Like when pardon my language, when the shit's hit the fan, where am I looking? Who am I listening to? Like if that's kind of fragmented, that's not a positive. That's a negative. To have someone that you believe in 100%. I just think either you believe in Robert McCracken 100% or you don't. And there's a lot of voices, social media, there's a lot of opinions, isn't there? He should do this, he should do that, and that probably seeps in, doesn't it? And it creates doubt, especially if you've had a loss. When you're winning, no, but when you had a loss, the doubt creeps in. He stood strong after the Ruiz fight. He stuck with Robert, and look what he put on, a great performance in the rematch. His tactics were spot on. He did exactly what he needed to do for that fight. He did for the Pulev fight. Look, the Usyk fight, maybe the tactics weren't right. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Because the reality was, I thought, look, he has to put it on Usyk at some point, but maybe he's going to box his way in, warm into the fight, and do that. The problem with that was, in hindsight, trying to box your way into the fight, you're already 4 rounds down. He's already got his confidence up. He's in a rhythm. He's flowing now. Now it's hard to turn that around. So, look, really he needs to impose his physical attributes where he's at an advantage. But I think he needs to do that from the first bell. I think if he fights him again, he needs to jump on him. I don't personally see him beating him in a long-range boxing match. And even if he thinks I'm going to jump on, I can change tactics mid-round. It's difficult. Once the pattern for the fight has been set, it's hard to turn it around because the other guy's got his tail up. And if you've lost 4 rounds and you've been stung a little bit, maybe yours is between your legs. So, but when the first bell goes, you're 50-50. I think that's the best time to jump on him. But obviously that's a gamble because if it doesn't work, you're going to blow out and you could end up getting slapped. So you're gambling, but you're either going to win big or you're going to lose big. But I think that's I don't see him beating him in any other way, really. I think he's got to really impose his physical attributes, jump on him and drag him into a fight.
Matt, we saw a couple of weeks ago Canelo becoming the undisputed super middleweight champion, announced earlier this week that he looks like he's going up to cruiserweight to attempt to become a 5-division champion against Makabu. We all know who Makabu is. He fought obviously Tony Bellew. What do you make of that fight?
It's interesting. We don't know, do we? I mean, he looked good against Kovalev, but he struggled early on. Kovalev's a very good boxer, long jab and that. Makabu was southpaw and bank, so he's got to be really careful because these are much bigger guys that are going to carry way more power and heavy hands, and they're not going to be as quick. So he'll be, you know, from a speed and all that point of view, he'll be at a massive advantage, and speed, you know, when you're as good as someone like Canelo as well, and you got that speed. We've seen it with Mayweather, didn't we? Moving up with fighters, it's hard to beat that speed, you know, and he can navigate his way through 12 rounds better than anyone. Canelo and his head movement. So, you know, you couldn't say it's not a fight he's going to win. He obviously fancies it, but he's got to be careful because, you know, Makabu's a big guy who can bang.
If he comes through Makabu convincingly, as a fighter, does his mindset say, well, I'm at cruiserweight, who's that heavyweight that I can mix it with that's around my size in terms of height, etc.? Does that go through his mind?
Possibly. I mean, Roy Jones did it, didn't he? But Roy Jones started at middleweight, you know, quickly went into super middle, was that light heavy for a long time, you know. So, you know, Canelo started at welterweight, didn't he? You know, so look, you don't know. Look, you look at guys like Fury, Joshua. They're monsters, aren't they, compared to someone like Canelo in size and stature. So I don't know if titles do end up becoming fragmented 12, 18 months, 2 years down the line, and there's one there that he thinks he can go for, possibly. You know, he might not stay at cruiserweight. He might have just fancied this fight, and he might come back down to light heavy. You know, maybe Viterbiev or Bivol or whoever's there at the time. I think, look, Canelo's the man, isn't he, in boxing? So I think he's just going to pick whichever fights make most sense to him at the time.
Just finally, tomorrow night after this show, early hours of the morning, Crawford versus Porter. Crawford's been dying for those big names. There's 147 that PBC. He finally gets Porter. It's a great fight. Who are you picking?
I'm picking Crawford, and I'm picking him to put on a career-defining best performance. And I think he'll need to, and I think Porter will make him fight. I think he'll bring it out of him. You know, no one has an easy night. No one has a night with Sean Porter. Let me tell you, you know, we've seen. I commentated on the Errol Spence fight. Listen, that last round when he got the knockdown, you know what I mean. I had it like, you know, 115, 113, and the knockdown 115, 112. Like, you know, so if it hadn't been a big round for Spence and it had been for Porter, he could have won the fight. You know, listen, the Cal Brook fight was a great fight, and that was when Cal Brook was at his best. You know, you go back along all the other opponents he's fought. No one's had an easy night with Sean Porter. He you know, as they say, he's a dog. You know, he really is, and he will be with Crawford too. And you know, Crawford's coming up from, you know, he wasn't necessarily a natural welterweight. I think he's grown into it now, but you know, from a physical strength point of view and pressure, I think Porter's really going to jump on him and stick it on him. But I do think Terence Crawford's exceptional. I think he's the best welterweight in the world. I think he's been the only reason he's probably hype and reputation out of that isn't more than it is, even though it's tough, which could be more, is because you know, the PBC, there was that bit of a Cold War going on. They saw on that side of the street these fights aren't happening, and Heyman just kept the welterweight thing going on among, you know, Thurman, Porter, Manny Pacquiao, and kept it in house. So this is good, and I think it'll be a career-defining fight, and I think it'll be a career-defining performance, and I expect Crawford to, I don't know, I'm not going to say he's going to stop Porter, because Porter, you can't say people are going to stop guys like Porter because they're just tough and durable and good, but I think he can put on a strong, dominant performance where I think he can win wide, and I think he'll really finish strong down the stretch.
Okay, Matt, thank you always for giving me a little bit of time. At least it's not buffering today like it does on Zoom at times. Enjoy the show Saturday night. I'm sure we'll catch up after the show tomorrow.
All right, perfect. Cheers.
Matt Macklin, IFL TV. Thank you very much.
Awesome.